second lesson, and today we are jumping into staff reading and note reading on the staff. Be sure that you have the right worksheets for your instrument because they are different from bass clef to alto clef to treble clef. Now I'm going to talk through all three of them, and just know that if I'm talking about the treble clef and you play the cello, you just listen in and you don't have to worry about doing it on your worksheet. Now, in a couple of weeks, you're actually going to learn treble clef, and violas, you're going to learn treble clef, and violins, you're going to learn bass clef. But just listen in for this week when I'm talking about the other instrument clefs, okay? So, violins, we'll start with you and treble clef, okay? So, treble clef, we have the 5 lines and the 4 spaces, which is the staff, right? You guys should know that pretty well. We always count from the bottom going up, okay? If I could stand on my head and help you remember this, I would. Always on the staff, start from the bottom and go up. When we count the staff lines, when we count the staff spaces, when we say the letters, when we come up with intervals, start on the bottom and go to the top. Bottom to top, bottom to top, okay? So, treble clef, the bottom line is E. Second line, G. Third line, B. Fourth line is D. Fifth line, F. And we come up with like these funny sentences to remember this, like every good boy deserves fudge, or every good boy does fine. You could come up with your own sentence where you would write, if the first letter of each word is those letters, okay? The lines for the treble clef are, let me draw a treble clef here. You guys were good at drawing your clefs this week, so A+. The lines for treble clef, every E, G, B, D, F, okay? Now the spaces, this is easy too. The spaces spell the word face. It rhymes. F-A-C-E. So, spaces spell the word face. Got it? Okay. So, treble clef, lines, say them with me. E, G, B, D, F. Now say the spaces with me. Start at the bottom, remember? F, A, C, E. Okay, so that's treble clef. Alto clef. So let's add an alto clef over here. Alto clef, your lines are F, A, C, E, G. I think my favorite one for the silly sentence for you guys is Fords and Chevys eat gas, okay? Or you could have frogs and cats eat grasshoppers. You pick which one you want to do, or come up with your own. That's fine too. Just make sure that it only has the first letter of every word starts with F, A, C, E, G. And just like violins, we start on the bottom and go up, okay? Alto clef spaces. My alto clef here. G, B, D, F. So if you're doing Fords and Chevys eat gas, those are all types of cars, right? Or trucks. Good brakes don't fail, okay? G, B, D, F. Those are the spaces for the alto clef. Good brakes don't fail. Or great big dragons fly. Or again, you can come up with your own and be creative. Whatever helps you remember the lines and the spaces for the alto clef, okay? Cellos with bass clef. 2 dots. Okay, so cellos, yours. Good boys do fine, always. Somebody asked why we never say good girls. Well, it's because our lines are never GG, okay? So we're just coming up with words. They're silly sentences to remember it. Good boys do fine always. Or great big dogs fight alligators. When I was little, I learned it as great big dogs fight animals, okay? Great big dogs fight alligators. That seems appropriate for Louisiana, doesn't it? Okay, so then those are your lines. Again, did we start at the top or the bottom? Start at the bottom. Always start at the bottom. Then the spaces for bass clef. A, C, E, G. All cows eat grass. Now, sometimes what happens with students, this happens to me all the time, is you get your sentences mixed up, okay? Like, you can't just choose which one you like, what sentence you think is the funniest, okay? Make sure that you remember that all cows eat grass is bass clef, okay? Violins and violas, you can't choose that one. It only works for bass clef, okay? So this is the cellos. Great big dogs fight alligators and all cows eat grass. Alto clef, you have, good brakes don't fail. And then you have Fords and Chevys eat gas. Okay, that's just violas, alto clef. And violins, every good boy does fine. And then the spaces spell the word face. Okay, remember, it's not going to work if you go from top to bottom and go F-A-C-E. Wrong. Okay, because that's F. You'll get them all wrong. Okay, then this is true for all of the clefs. What happens when we need to use notes that are higher than these letters that are on the staff? Okay, so all of these letters that we just talked about are specific spots on your fingerboard, okay? So let's say here's treble clef A. Now violins, you know how to play a lot of different A's on your violin. You could play first finger on the G string, you could play open A, or you could play third finger on the E string, all in first position. That's 3 A's. When you see this A means open A. You can't play any of the other A's, only open A, okay? So what happens when we want to play the third finger on the E string? Do we just not get to play it because we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G? We run out of lines. No, what we get to do, and this is for everybody, we add another line on top. That little line makes the staff go higher, just in this spot right here. And it's called a ledger line, okay? And you just set, so that high A for us, third finger on the E string, is on a ledger line. A line note, it goes right through the middle, okay? What if we want to go up one more from A? Well, for violins, that would be B. Okay, let me do it down here so you can see it. This is important. I often see this. That space note sets right on top of the ledger line. You don't do this. Ledger line, note, ledger line. You don't have to create a space note. This is wrong. Just set that note right on top of the ledger line, okay? So the ledger lines can keep going. As you get into advanced literature, you're gonna see notes that have lots of ledger lines. The other thing ledger lines can do is they can go below the staff, okay? But you have to make sure that your instrument can play them. For violins, our open G string is a ledger line. It's 2 ledger lines down, and then G hanging from it. It's a space note, and we don't draw another line underneath it, okay? Does that make sense? Let's talk about the same thing for alto clef. Okay, so here's your alto clef, just to make sure everybody understands. We said here is G right here, okay? I'm just looking at your worksheet, and some of those bubbles are a little bit off. I need to fix those bubbles. On viola, if you look at your line notes, that G should be a little bit higher. It looks like it's on the space. It should be on the line. I will try to fix that for you. And but if just make sure your line notes are on the line. Mine are incorrect right now. So here's G. Here's your open A. How do you play B? Right? First finger on the A string. Do we just not get to play on the A string? Wouldn't that be great? So, ledger line, note on the line, B. How do we draw C? C is our space note. Ledger line, note, don't draw a ledger line on top, okay? For C. Does that make sense? Same thing happens underneath. So here we have F, E, ledger line with the note, okay? So the notes and the ledger lines, they just keep going up. Line, space, line, space. Make sure you don't just count the lines. It's not gonna go B, C, D. It has to go line, space, line, space, line, space, just like the staff, okay? Cellos, real quick. Here's your open A. B, how do you play C? Ledger line, line note. D would sit on top, okay? Same thing going down. Okay, if you look on, so on that first page, we talk about the lines and the spaces and then the ledger lines. On the second page, I put a whole bunch of different notes that you should all know. Set a timer, a stopwatch, and see how fast you can do all of them just to say the letters. Quick, 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 okay? Your goal is to get all of them, I would say, in a minute, okay? Then look at page 7. Stem rules. Okay, this is for everybody. It doesn't matter your instrument. Stem rules, we're going to talk about stem rules, dot rules, beam rules, and flag rules. Okay, so when a note is, here's the middle line. Remember we count from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When a note is lower than line 3, the stem goes up on the right. This is wrong. This is wrong, okay? Up on the right. And you want the stem to go through, mine probably should be a little bit bigger here. Touch 3 lines, okay? This is also wrong. It just looks kind of mini. You also want to make sure that you don't have any lollipops, okay? So up on the right side of the note head, up on the right. Not short, not in the middle, not on the left, not going down on the left. So if it's lower than line 3, it goes up on the right. If it's above line 3, it's gonna go down on the left. Here's the way you can kind of remember it. So you want the stem to be in the staff, okay? We don't want to have all of these stems hanging down below here. It makes it really hard to read and it's kind of sloppy. And you might be like, well, I can read that. Just trust me. okay? So if it's below line 3, it goes up on the right. If it's above line 3, down on the left. Okay, dots, dotted half notes. Oh, I forgot one thing. If it's on line 3, okay? If it's on line 3, you can choose. It can go up or down. Up on the right, down on the left. It does have to go up on the right side of the note, down on the left side. You don't get to pick which side you want to go on. Just up on the right, down on the left. If everything else in the measure, if all the other notes in the measure are going up on the right, and you have, like, let's say we have 1, 2, 3, and then we have B, then you go with everybody else up on the right. Follow the crowd, okay? If up, down, down, really there you could choose. This one's up, these two are down, probably down because there's 2 down. So go with the majority of the stems. If it's a whole measure of notes on line 3, you can choose. Up on the right, down on the left. Say that. Up on the right, down on the left. I go over and over this with students, and they come back the next week and their notes are like this. What's wrong with this? It's above line 3, so those stems should go down on the left, okay? Flags. Dots. I skipped it. Sorry. Dots. Dots are easy. They always go on the right side, okay? You're never going to put a dot over here on the left. It always goes on the right side. Even if the stem is going up, it goes on the right. Dots on the right. Dots on the right. If it's a space note, the dot goes in the same space as the note. If it's a line note, we don't want to put it on the line. We won't be able to see it. You would think that was a half note, okay? So the dot, if it's a line note, the dot goes in the space right above. Don't do this. Here's my line note. Okay? That probably looks funny to you, but every once in a while when we start to draw notes, we do some weird things, okay? So, dot, if it's a line note, it goes in the next space above on the right. Dots, always on the right. And then you're gonna follow the stem rule, okay? So whether it's a quarter note, a half note, if it has a stem, follow the stem rule. Below line 3, up on the right, above line 3, down on the left. Dots, always go on the right side. Flags. So when you draw a single 8th note, this little thing right here is called a flag. Flags always point to the right. Okay, so when the stem is going down, the flag goes to the right. When the stem is going up, the flag goes to the right. Okay? This is not right. Okay? This is not right either. You might see people draw it this way. That's not right. Flags always go to the right. Okay, then when we have 2 8th notes, we can connect them with a beam. So follow the stem rules. They're below line 3, so they go up on the right. And then we connect them across the top with a beam. I always think about gymnastics when I think about this because it looks like a balance beam that somebody walks across, okay? There's the beam. If both of the notes are below line 3 and both of their stems are going up, then you draw the stems up with the beam across. If both of the notes have stems going down, they're above line 3. Oops. the beam connects them across the bottom. What happens when one of them is below line 3 and one is above line 3? Like, does this one go down and this one goes up and that's kind of weird looking. You've probably never seen that in your music before. That's not what we do. So we figure out who's farthest away. Who's farthest away from the middle line? Here's the middle line. So there's 1, 2, space line. Then going down, we have space, line, space. Oh, this bottom one in space 1, he's farthest away. He wins. He gets to, we follow his rules. So stem going up on the right, connected. Okay? So figure out when you have two notes and one is below line 3 and one is above line 3, then whichever one is farthest away from the middle line, that's who wins the rules. Okay? They get to follow their rules. Up on the right beam. Okay? Now, if you're going to draw 16th notes for their beams, we just draw one other line. So we have 2 lines. If you have to play really, really fast notes, and it's 32nd notes, 3 lines. 64th notes, 4 lines. After that, you just shake your arm as fast as you can when you have to play it. Just kidding. So, but for right now, 16th notes have 2 beams, 8th notes have 1 beam. If you're going to draw a 16th note by itself, it gets 2 flags. Flag, flag. See if you can see this better. Flag, flag. Just another flag. Okay? You're going to be drawing single 8th notes in the on page 8 and number 4. I was just showing you, demonstrating how the flags go to remind you, you don't have to draw 2 notes in each measure. You can just draw 1 and you can choose. You can choose where you want that F or B or D or G. Just make sure that it's the right one for your clef. That is it for this week. This should be a little bit easier for you guys than last week, and we're gonna come back around to that. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I'll see you next week.